I'm 30 now, but at the time, I was just a guy who believed in giving people the benefit of the doubt, especially the woman I was supposed to marry. Rachel was 28, smart, funny, the kind of person who lights up a room without even trying. We'd been together 3 years and engaged for 6 months. I thought we were solid. Until about 2 months before the wedding, when things started to feel off. It started with networking nights. Rachel worked in marketing at a mid-sized firm, and every Thursday evening, she'd dress up like she was heading to a gala. Heels, makeup, perfume, more effort than I'd seen her put into any actual work event before. She'd come home after midnight, sometimes buzzed, sometimes barely saying much. I figured it was just corporate stuff I didn't get. You know, schmoozing clients. That kind of thing. But then she started brushing me off more. Dodging questions. Being vague. So one Thursday night, when she walked in around 1:45 a.m. reeking of expensive cologne I didn't wear, I finally asked, "Where were you last night?" She didn't even look up, just tossed her keys in the bowl and said, "If you trusted me, you wouldn't need to ask." It was one of those sentences that just stays in your head, even when you wish it wouldn't. I didn't fight her on it. I didn't ask again. I just watched. I didn't want to be the paranoid fiancé. But the red flags weren't just emotional. They were practical. Her gym, which she'd been religious about, was suddenly canceled. Venmo payments were showing up from names I didn't recognize with vague captions like drinks or great night. Once, she came home and her blazer smelled like someone else's aftershave, musky and sharp. I don't even wear cologne. I told myself maybe I was overthinking, but I couldn't shake the feeling. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I bought a $40 home security camera off Amazon, mounted it on the bookshelf in the living room. Told her it was because of recent package thefts in the area. She nodded, didn't even question it. Probably didn't care enough to. 2 Thursdays later, I was working late from my home office. I heard the front door open around 2:15 a.m., followed by laughter. Not hers alone. A guy's voice. Low, familiar with her. I turned off my monitor and listened. Whispers. Footsteps. A pop and hiss. Beer cans opening. I didn't want to look, but I did. The live feed showed Rachel, clearly drunk, walking in with some guy. Tall, in business casual, the kind of guy who thought a vest made him look important. He put his arm around her like it belonged there. She let him. They collapsed onto the couch. Our couch, kissing like teenagers who knew they wouldn't make it to the bedroom. I just stared at the screen. Not angry. Not even heartbroken. Just quiet. It wasn't a fight I wanted. It was a confirmation. I didn't storm in. I didn't yell. I didn't even pause the footage. I let it happen. Then I saved the recording. Backed it up twice. Transferred it to a USB drive. The next morning, Rachel acted like nothing had happened. Made coffee. Kissed me on the cheek. Talked about how excited she was to go dress fitting with her maid of honor next weekend. I nodded, smiled faintly, and said I'd be working late again. Because I wasn't going to confront her in private. I wanted witnesses. And I knew exactly who to invite. I gave it 3 more days. 3 mornings of her making breakfast in the kitchen like everything was fine. 3 nights of her sending out wedding reminders and obsessing over floral arrangements. Every time she leaned over to kiss me, every time she talked about our future, it made me wonder, how many times had she lied like this before? On Sunday, I told her we should have her parents over for dinner. She lit up, said that'd be great, and offered to cook her mom's favorite dish. It'll be nice to slow down before things get crazy, she said, sipping wine. She didn't know the real reason they were coming. That night, I barely slept. Not because I was unsure, but because I knew how messy this was going to get. I still remembered the moment I proposed to her, the way she cried and said she couldn't wait to spend her life with me. That person felt like a stranger now. Her parents arrived around 6 p.m. Her mom brought a bottle of wine. Her dad gave me one of those old school guy hugs, firm handshake and back pats. I smiled politely. Rachel was glowing, laughing, complimenting her mom's shoes. You'd think it was a Hallmark family dinner. Then, halfway through the meal, I stood up and said, I need to show you something. I walked over to the TV, plugged in the USB stick, and hit play. Silence. Rachel's voice came on first, slurred, flirty, followed by the unmistakable sound of the front door opening and that guy walking in. I didn't look at her. I kept my eyes on her parents as the video played. Her mom's fork slipped from her hand and clanged against the plate. Her dad's face darkened like a storm rolling in. Rachel didn't say anything at first. She just stared, pale, frozen. When the footage ended, her mom stood up and said, barely above a whisper, "How could you?" Her dad didn't speak. He just left the table and walked outside. I don't know if it was to cool down or so he wouldn't say something he'd regret. Rachel finally broke the silence. It was a mistake, she said, eyes wide. It was the alcohol. It didn't mean anything. He means nothing to me. I looked at her. You didn't think I'd find out, I said. That hit her harder than any yelling would have. I didn't mean to hurt you. Things got out of control. I nodded. The wedding's off. You have until tomorrow morning to pack your things and leave. Her expression shifted. First shock, then desperation. No, wait, please. We've spent years building this life together. Don't throw it away over one night. You threw it away the moment you let him into my home. Then came the threats. I'll tell everyone you were controlling, that you spied on me. You'll lose your job, your reputation. I didn't have to spy. I just stopped trusting blindly. I reached into a folder and handed her a letter. Also, legally, I want the engagement ring back. It's considered a conditional gift in this state. You broke the condition. She looked down at the paper, then ripped it in half and threw it at my feet. So I filed the lawsuit the next morning. She moved out that afternoon. I thought that would be the end of it. But with Rachel, endings were never clean. And I had no idea just how far she was willing to go to flip the story. I thought I'd seen the worst of it when she walked out of the apartment with 2 suitcases and her face hidden under a hoodie. I was wrong. Less than a week later, I got a text from a friend. Hey man, you might want to check Facebook. Sure enough, there it was. A long, carefully worded post from Rachel, painting herself as the victim. She said she'd endured emotional manipulation for years, that I'd monitored her every move, and even implied I'd weaponized technology to control her social life. She didn't mention the man on the couch. She didn't mention the wine-stained kisses or the $14,000 ring she refused to return. At first, I just stared at the screen. I wasn't even angry, just tired. It felt surreal, like I was watching someone rewrite history in real time. Then came the comments. A few of her friends jumped in to support her. You're so strong. So sorry you went through this. That kind of thing. But it didn't last long. Because one of my friends, bless him, dropped a simple comment under her post. Didn't seem abusive when you were making out with your boss on his couch last Thursday. 12 hours later, the post disappeared. That might have been the end of it, until word got out about him. The guy from the video. Rachel's networking buddy. Turned out, he was her direct supervisor. Married. With 3 kids. I didn't have to do anything. His wife found the security footage through someone at the office who saw Rachel's post before it got deleted. The fallout was brutal. He lost his job. Apparently there were other complaints in the pipeline already. She was put on indefinite leave while HR launched an internal investigation. Last I heard, she'd moved back in with her parents and was waiting to see whether she'd be formally fired or just quietly let go. Meanwhile, I kept things quiet. Didn't post anything. Didn't defend myself online. I focused on the lawsuit over the engagement ring, which I won. She had to return it. I sold it for $9,000. Used part of that to cover the wedding vendor cancellation fees. The rest went toward a solo trip to Iceland the same week I was supposed to be on a honeymoon. It was freezing, it was quiet, and it was exactly what I needed. She still tried to reach me. Different numbers, different email addresses. Same tone. I made one mistake. You'll regret this. We were soulmates. But I was done listening. Because what we had, whatever it was, ended the moment she used trust as a shield for betrayal. She made me feel guilty for noticing what was right in front of me. She tried to weaponize morality to cover up disloyalty. And I let her for a while. The hardest part wasn't watching the footage or canceling the wedding. It was admitting to myself that I'd ignored the signs because I was afraid of the answer. Now, I'm in therapy, not to get over her, but to figure out why I believed her version of love was all I deserved. I've got new plans. No wedding, no shared lease. I'm buying a small cabin in the mountains next year. Just trees, books, and peace. Sometimes I wonder if she ever really loved me, or if I was just convenient. But I don't dwell on it long. Because people who truly love you don't need secrecy to survive. And if you're reading this, Rachel, you told me, if you trusted me, you'd stop snooping. Well, I did. And you destroyed everything on your own. What do you think? Was I too calm? Too calculated? Would you have done the same? Or walked away sooner?